Today's video is brought to you by ablmerch.com. Use promo code 1776 to get 20% off your next order. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Alyssa Milano, the actress, getting nuked, getting obliterated, getting torched, getting annihilated by a black woman on the TikToks by the name of This Is Savvy. I'll link to her profile in the description box below. Now, is the TikToker liberal, conservative? I have no idea. I don't really know. All that I do know is that Alyssa Milano got taken behind the woodshed one good time, and it was not a very good outcome. Now, before I go down the rabbit hole and talk about the video, let's go ahead and roll two clips. I'm going to roll the first fuller clip from Alyssa Milano, and then I'm going to roll the very short one with This Is Savvy's response. After we get done watching those, I'll come back. I'll talk about what was said there. Then I'll give you the rest of my 2 cents, my deep, detailed analysis, and then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
For those of us who are not black men, imagine watching the news and seeing how people who look like you are portrayed. Imagine seeing men who look like you executed by police, arrested in impossibly high numbers, and seeing the entire political system of our nation fighting to keep it that way. Think about really what effect that would have on you, about how you felt about this country and your participation in its institutions. It's a centuries-old problem, but we can't be centuries old in the solution. We need to fix it now. We need to stop the efforts to make it harder for people of color to vote. We need to fix what is broke in America. For those of us who are not black men, imagine watching the news and seeing how people...
Imagine being a black man and being told by some white lady with a microphone that you and the criminal on TV are one and the same because you look alike. Imagine being told by society that white people can be all that they can be, but you as a black man, the content of your character is completely irrelevant. You are the color of your skin, and that is all you will ever be. Imagine being told you can't figure out how to vote because of the color of your skin. Socioeconomics affects everyone, but apparently you're not as smart as the poorest white person. Lady, I don't want to hate you. I'm a 90s kid. I grew up with you, so I know you're very talented. I understand your heart is in the right place, but you are everything you preach against. You're not helping. You're making things worse. You're causing more division. You're causing more fear. Statistically speaking, I am more likely to be shot and killed by my black elderly neighbor across the street than the cop who patrols my neighborhood. Statistically speaking, homicide by cop is very rare, but people like you find power in fear, so you keep it front page news. You don't have to be a white supremacist. You can be better.
All right, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, bravo. Hey, that right there, you're reading my mind. Okay, you just went into my brain and took my thoughts straight out. And thank you, by the way, for standing up for black men, because that's one thing I wanted to address right away. Right when I saw Alyssa Milano, straight from the beginning, before I even saw This Is Savvy's response, right when I saw her, this whole thing about, oh, imagine if you were a black man and all this and that. I'm tired of black men being portrayed by the leftist media as soft, ineffective, weak, unable, just like little kids. It's like, I'll be 40 years old in a very short period of time. I'm not a little boy, just hapless, unable to defend myself. I'm a fully grown man here. All right. I am a fully grown man. I'm not soft. I am not weak. I'm not beta or anything of the sort. So I don't need Miss White Lady to try and speak for me. Talking about, oh, how would you feel if, people getting gunned down? And who's getting gunned down, though? Regular normies like me and other black men that are out there are not getting gunned down on the street. And if we are getting gunned down, then who's doing it? Ask that question and answer that, Alyssa Milano. Who's doing it? Is it the big bad white man? This, invincible being? And shout out to This Is Savvy, because she was saying, don't be a white supremacist, because that's kind of what Alyssa Milano is doing, even if she's not conscious of it. Because you're talking about white men is white men is white man, white man, white man, white man. What about the black man's agency? What about the black man's ability to protect himself, to defend himself, and to defend his family? What about that? That's not even really your thing, okay? What about the black man's and woman's intelligence? Talking about, oh, you guys are being stopped from voting. How? what law on the book says that ABL or any other black person or any person in general can't vote? Like, where's a law that says that? Oh, I got to have an ID? Well, so what? You got to have an ID for everything. Everybody has ID. I mean, we know how to drive cars. We know how to, we're not like animals out here, some kind of pets for white liberals to own. We know how to drive cars and go do things and travel. And, I done been on the airplane. I got a passport, license. I got all that good stuff. How hard is that to get? And in a lot of places, the license is very easy to get. It's free. And then one thing, this is Savvy said, was this whole thing about social economics does not just affect blacks. The reality is that there are more poor whites than there are blacks in total. Now, I'm not comparing poor whites to poor blacks because, of course, there's going to be more poor whites than poor blacks because the population, about 65% or so of the population is non-Hispanic white, and about 13% is black. So that just makes sense. I'm talking about there's about 40 million whites in poverty. There's only 36 million blacks total. Rich, poor, Oprah, LeBron, the dope boy on the street, your doctor, your school teacher, your bus driver, all blacks. There are less blacks in total than there are poor whites. So if this whole thing about voter suppression is going to affect blacks because we can't get ID because we're so poor, all this and that and the third, wouldn't it affect whites as well? And there are many more poor whites than there are blacks in total. And you got poor whites that live in rural areas. And then they say Republicans, their base is the poor whites in rural areas. Well, if the laws were to suppress those that live in rural areas that are poor, live far from a city area, wouldn't it affect their base more than the Democrats' base? Really, the Democrats have most of the cities where everything is easily accessible. So it doesn't make any sense. If you don't have an ID, it's because you don't want to have an ID. You don't really care to have an ID, but it's not like it's difficult to get one, right? So this whole thing is stupid. I think Alyssa Milano is just trying to make this kind of content be a thing that people just go to her for. She has quite a bit of TikTok followers. Alyssa Milano, it's like 700,000 or so. So people are buying into this. They believe in this whole thing about, the black man is so poor, so beat down, so downtrodden, and so oppressed. They believe in that. She has a whole podcast. She had her Rode mic and everything set up, nice little background. She's become a social media influencer rather than an actress. And her shtick is talking about black oppression from the guilt-ridden white woman's perspective. And she appeals to other guilt-ridden white and also other races, black included, that they feel guilty. They got that black guilt. They want to go back to the quote-unquote hood and do little things, But all of that is just show. It's a big grift. How y'all say? How the cool kids say grift? That's all it is, because this is the same Alyssa Milano that called the police on a young man who might have been black. I'm not sure what color he was, because a young man was on the property with a BB gun shooting squirrels. And I'm talking about like the whole police department came out. You had helicopters, fire trucks, squad cars, K9, everybody. It was like a good 8 to 10 vehicles of different type that came out to her property because she called the police. But you want to talk about, oh, well, black men are so scared to keep getting gunned down by the police. But you called the police on a young man that could have been black. So the hypocrisy is ridiculous. It's rich. I'm talking about Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. If you combine all the rings together and form Captain Rich, that's how rich this whole thing is. It's dumb. It's ridiculous. And shout out to people that stand up against it, like This Is Savvy on the TikToks and everybody else out there, because we know it's bogus. And it's a grift. It's just trying to get money. People believe in it. But as I close, I want to say this. Hopefully we have less brainwashed people out there, and we don't have what Alyssa Milano said as the norm of just a general thought process in this country, because it's toxic. It's toxic, it's ridiculous, it's dangerous, and it's whack. No, I'm not soft. No, I'm not a beta male. No, I don't need this random white lady making up lies about me on the internet, talking about I'm so scared of police, all this and the third. I ain't never scared. I've seen a lot of different things in my life that the white man was not involved with, that no police were involved with. So I have no fear. I fear nothing at all. Now, I'm not going to do dumb stuff. I'm not going to just jump out of a plane with no parachute. I'm not a dummy, but I'm not fearful like that. And a lot of guys are just like me. Our heart does not pump Kool-Aid, Alyssa Milano. So stop the nonsense. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about what Alyssa Milano said about the black man and voting and the fear and people getting gunned down by police, all this, that, and the third? Whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments below. How do you feel about the response? Was that an epic, kickback, a nice little nuke out of orbit? Whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I stand. I think a young lady on the TikToks was echoing my sentiments right on. I feel like people have to be on these big platforms to fight against that toxic rhetoric, because if we're not, then it will go unchallenged. Okay, she may have found a space where there's not a lot of people on there fighting back against her, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a constant fight on there. I have no idea. But regardless of what, we need to be on these platforms. We need to be everywhere fighting against this narrative with the true narrative, with the truth, with reality, rather than fiction, rather than victimhood, rather than the grift from victimhood that Alyssa Milano is clearly engaging in. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.